Below 1,000 meters, the sun disappears completely, and yet life does not end there. It becomes stranger and more beautiful. Within this realm, the midnight zone of the ocean, creatures defy our earthly imaginations, adapting to darkness and pressure in ways we are only beginning to understand. Imagine, if you will, the gentle swaying of bioluminescent organisms, casting ethereal glows in a kingdom shrouded in silence and mystery. The exploration of this hidden world beckons, inviting you to journey deeper into its wonders. Welcome to Let's Learn While You Sleep. As we delve into the depths of the midnight zone, we will uncover the extraordinary adaptations of life that reside beyond the reach of sunlight. Here, in the dark abyss, pressure exceeds the most extreme we encounter on land, and temperatures plunge to near freezing. Yet, hidden within these depths lies a vibrant community of creatures, each uniquely equipped to thrive against the harshest of odds. In our gentle exploration tonight, we will illuminate these mysteries and allow the wonders of the deep ocean to wash over you like a calming wave, guiding you into a serene state of rest. As we begin our descent into the midnight zone, we find ourselves enveloped by an oceanic twilight where the sun's rays dare not penetrate. This vast expanse, stretching to depths of around 4,000 meters, is a world of contradictions. Lightless yet teeming with life, desolate yet vibrant. Creatures here have evolved in isolation, developing unique adaptations that allow them to thrive despite the overwhelming pressure and near-freezing temperatures. For instance, the lanternfish, a diminutive yet remarkable inhabitant of these depth ranges, showcases this resilience beautifully. It possesses photophores, small organs that emit light, allowing it to communicate with mates, evade predators, and lure unsuspecting prey. Illuminate your imagination with the soft, flickering glow of a lanternfish casting its ethereal light in the dark, a beacon of hope in a shadowy world. Moreover, we encounter the enigmatic deep-sea jellyfish, which floats through the water with a grace akin to celestial dancers in cosmic ballets. With their gelatinous bodies illuminated by bioluminescence, they create mesmerizing displays that hint at their ethereal beauty. Jellies, as they are known, capitalize on currents, effortlessly drifting along while capturing microscopic organisms in their delicate tentacles. To witness this is to embrace the dance of life in the depths, where every movement tells a story of survival and adaptation to the harshest conditions. In the midst of this deep silence, we discover not only physical resilience, but also a robust tapestry of relationships among these organisms. Predators and prey, symbionts and scavengers, all await in the shadows, revealing a complex dance of life that is dictated by the ebb and flow of the ocean's currents. The intricate web of life here remains largely untouched and mysterious, a reminder of nature's unfathomable depths. Let us pause and breathe into this rich panorama of the midnight zone as we appreciate the ongoing narrative unfolding far beneath the waves, where the wonders of evolution remain hidden from light and human eyes. As we glide deeper into the midnight zone, we encounter the mysterious anglerfish, an extraordinary creature whose adaptations are the stuff of legends. With its bioluminescent lure protruding from its forehead, it is often said to embody the very essence of the dark abyss. This fascinating feature draws in curious prey, as the glow resembles small swimming organisms, luring them close enough for the anglerfish to strike with startling speed. This method of predation is a masterclass in patience and stealth, as these fish lie in wait, concealed against the rocky seabed. Envision, if you will, the dark silhouette of the anglerfish, its lure radiating a soft, tantalizing glow that beckons to unsuspecting prey, a siren's call amidst the darkness. The anglerfish represents but one facet of the unique adaptations found in this realm. We also find the giant squid, an elusive creature capable of reaching lengths of up to 13 meters. Despite its size, this enigmatic cephalopod remains shrouded in mystery, adept at evading human awareness, often dwelling far below human exploration. It possesses specialized chromatophores, cells that enable it to change color and blend seamlessly into its surroundings, a remarkable adaptation that aids in both hunting and evasion. Imagine a giant squid gliding silently through the midnight zone, its skin rippling in gradients of blue and green, a phantom of the depths, evading all eyes. The adaptations of these creatures are not only biological marvels, but also underline the complex ecosystems that thrive far from sunlight. They hold deep connections with their environment and one another, embodying the intricate relationships forged through years of evolution. Here, symbiotic partnerships flourish, as seen with the tiny shrimp that tend to the anemones affixed to the shells of deep-sea crabs. Both emerge as beneficiaries in this delicate balance of survival. As we immerse ourselves in this vivid panorama of life in the dark, let us take a moment to reflect on the interconnectedness that transcends these depths. Each organism, no matter how small, plays an instrumental role in maintaining the health of the ecosystem, reminding us of the fragility of life and the endless wonder that exists beneath the surface, waiting patiently for our exploration. Venturing even deeper into the midnight zone, let us explore the profound phenomena of hydrothermal vents, otherworldly oases within the dark expanse of the ocean, bursting with life. These underwater geysers, ejecting superheated water enriched with minerals, create habitats that host unique ecosystems. It is astonishing to consider that these vents provide sustenance to an intricate community composed of organisms that you might not expect to find in such a harsh environment. In this isolated world, life flourishes in the starkest of conditions, relying on chemosynthesis rather than sunlight for energy. Here, giant tube worms bloom alongside crabs, shrimp, and a spectrum of fascinating life forms that harness the minerals and nutrients spewed from the vents. The tube worms, with their vibrant red plumes, filter the surrounding water and, through their endosymbiotic bacteria, transform minerals into energy essential for survival. This remarkable process exemplifies the creative adaptability of life, showcasing the extraordinary ways in which organisms find a path to survival in the shadowy depths. Imagine witnessing these hydrothermal vents, glowing with the soft colors of life emerging from the barren darkness. Clouds of microbes spiral in plumes, feeding organisms that rely on this unique biochemical foundation. This vibrant spectacle is a profound reminder of the resilience of life, highlighting the ways beings can adapt to almost any environment, no matter how extreme. As we absorb the sights and sounds of this alien ecosystem, it becomes apparent that the midnight zone is not merely a desolate void, but a vibrant tapestry woven from connections among species. Each creature contributes to the greater whole, reminding us of our interconnected destinies. The hydrothermal vents, with their cerulean waters and the cacophony of life, invite us to reflect on our place in the grand narrative of existence, urging us to appreciate the diverse forms of life that flourish, adapting to challenges in the silence of the deep. As our journey through the midnight zone begins to reach its poetic conclusion, we cannot help but acknowledge the ecological importance of this renowned depth. The midnight zone, teeming with an astonishing array of species, serves as a crucial barrier in the ocean's global ecosystem. Its creatures contribute to processes like carbon cycling, serving as critical links that connect various marine environments. The health of these populations is not just an isolated concern. It reverberates throughout the surface waters and, ultimately, our entire planet. The dynamics of the midnight zone remind us that the ocean's health is an intricate tapestry woven through interconnected threads. Predators and prey maintain balance, while scavengers such as amphipods and deep-sea fish consume organic debris fallen from above, ensuring that nothing goes to waste. The workshops of life here carry on tirelessly beneath the silence. Everything works in harmony, nourishing the depths below and ultimately the world above. As we conclude our exploration tonight, consider the expanse of the midnight zone forever etched in your mind, a hidden world rich in life despite its seemingly inhospitable surroundings. Reflect on the extraordinary beauty of the adaptations that allow beings like the gulper eel, capable of expelling its stomach to digest prey, and the snailfish, the deepest living vertebrate, to thrive in this realm of darkness. Such marvels remind us that life, vast and resilient, prevails in unimaginable forms. In the end, we arise from this descent into the depths, carrying with us a newfound appreciation for the midnight zone and its silent miracles. We have witnessed the wonders of evolution and adaptation, each species a key that unlocks mysteries of survival, urging us to reflect on the profound connections that bind us all in this grand aquatic theatre. Yet, even in the deepest reaches of the midnight zone, life has found ways to nourish itself that seem almost impossible, almost too elegant to be real. In the absence of sunlight, the entire food web of the bathypelagic depends upon a slow, ceaseless rain of organic matter drifting down from the sunlit waters far above. Scientists call this phenomenon marine snow, and it is one of the most quietly beautiful processes in all of Earth's oceans. Marine snow is composed of tiny fragments of dead plankton, the discarded mucus nets of filter-feeding organisms, fecal pellets, shed scales, and the slowly decomposing remains of creatures that once swam in warmer, brighter waters. As these particles sink through the water column, they clump together into delicate, translucent aggregates, sometimes reaching several centimeters across, drifting downward at rates of roughly 100 to 200 meters per day. This means that a single flake of marine snow may take weeks to travel from the surface to the floor of the midnight zone, tumbling and dissolving as it falls, losing much of its nutritional content along the way. By the time it arrives at depths beyond 1,000 meters, perhaps only 1 to 3% of the organic carbon produced at the surface remains. And yet this meager dusting sustains entire communities of life. Bacteria colonize the falling particles, breaking them down and releasing nutrients that feed other microorganisms. Gelatinous creatures such as larvaceans and siphonophores filter these particles from the water with astonishing efficiency. Larger animals, the deep-sea shrimp, the rat-tail fish, the grenadiers with their long tapering tails, scavenge what settles on the ocean floor or intercept what drifts past in the current. This vertical transfer of energy from the sunlit surface to the lightless deep is known as the biological pump, and it plays a profound role in regulating Earth's climate. By transporting carbon from the atmosphere, through photosynthesis, through the bodies of plankton, and finally into the deep ocean, this process sequesters vast quantities of carbon dioxide far from the atmosphere, locking it away in the cold, dense waters below for centuries, sometimes millennia. Every flake that falls is a quiet act of planetary regulation, a whisper of balance descending through the dark. Consider, for a moment, the creatures that have made this realm of eternal darkness not merely survivable, but home. Among the most remarkable inhabitants of the Midnight Zone are the giant squid, animals so elusive that for centuries they were dismissed as sailors' fantasies, as the fevered imaginings of lonely mariners. The giant squid, known to science as Architeuthis ducks, can reach lengths of up to 13 meters, with tentacles that stretch outward like pale ribbons through the black water. Their eyes are among the largest in the animal kingdom, measuring up to approximately 27 centimeters in diameter, roughly the size of a dinner plate. These enormous eyes are not an accident of evolution, but a precise adaptation to the midnight zone's absolute darkness, allowing the squid to detect the faintest traces of bioluminescent light produced by other organisms. Perhaps even the dim glow stirred up by the movements of their greatest predator, the sperm whale. It was not until 2004 that Japanese researchers Tsunemi Kubodera and Kyoichi Mori captured the first photographs of a living giant squid in its natural habitat, at a depth of roughly 900 meters in the North Pacific. And it was not until 2012 that the first video footage of this creature was recorded in the deep waters south of Japan. For all of human history before that moment, this animal existed only in fragments, in the beaks found inside the stomachs of stranded whales, in the sucker scars etched into whale skin, in the tentacles occasionally hauled up in fishing nets. The Midnight Zone kept its secret well, and the giant squid is only one member of a vast community of cephalopods adapted to the deep. The vampire squid, Vampiroteuthis infernalis, whose name means literally the vampire squid from hell, drifts through oxygen minimum zones at depths of 600 to 1,200 meters, surviving on marine snow and detritus with one of the lowest metabolic rates of any cephalopod. It does not hunt, it does not chase. It simply extends long filamentous arms coated in sticky mucus and gathers what the darkness provides. There is a patience in this creature that feels almost philosophical, a willingness to wait, to receive, to exist gently in a world without light. Somewhere in that darkness, far below the reach of any current stirred by wind, the Midnight Zone holds another secret. one that reshapes our understanding of where life can exist and how it sustains itself. Scattered along the mid-ocean ridges, where tectonic plates pull slowly apart, hydrothermal vents release superheated water into the frigid deep, creating oases of chemical energy in a realm that sunlight has never touched. These vents were first discovered in 1977 by geologist Jack Corliss and his colleagues aboard the submersible Alvin near the Galapagos Rift in the eastern Pacific. What they found astonished the scientific world. Clustered around the vents were thriving communities of organisms, giant tube worms reaching lengths of over 2 meters, dense beds of mussels and clams, ghostly white crabs, and shimmering swarms of shrimp, all living in complete independence from the sun. The foundation of these ecosystems is not photosynthesis, but chemosynthesis, a process in which specialized bacteria harness the chemical energy released when hydrogen sulfide from the vent fluid reacts with dissolved oxygen in the surrounding seawater. These chemosynthetic bacteria form the base of the food web, living freely in the water, or, more remarkably, residing inside the tissues of the giant tube worms, in a symbiotic relationship so intimate that the worms have no mouth, no stomach, and no digestive tract at all. They rely entirely upon their bacterial partners for nutrition. The water emerging from these vents can reach temperatures exceeding 400 degrees Celsius, yet it does not boil because the immense pressure at those depths, often 200 to 300 times atmospheric pressure at the surface, raises the boiling point far beyond what we experience in our everyday world. Just centimeters away from the scorching vent fluid, the ambient water temperature hovers near 2 degrees Celsius, creating one of the steepest thermal gradients found anywhere on Earth. Life clings to this narrow boundary, thriving in the chemical richness of the plume while avoiding the lethal heat at its core. These vents do not last forever. Most remain active for only decades to perhaps a few centuries before the geological forces that created them shift and the flow of heated water ceases, and the community slowly disperses into the surrounding dark. As we drift still further into the quiet margins of the midnight zone, let us rest with one final wonder, one that connects this alien world to the rhythm of life across the entire planet. Every night, as the sun sets above the ocean's surface, the largest migration on Earth begins, not across savannas or along river valleys, but vertically through the water column, in a phenomenon known as diel vertical migration. Billions upon billions of organisms, small fish, squid, copepods, krill, jellyfish, and the larvae of countless species, rise from the darkness of the mesopelagic and bathypelagic zones toward the surface waters to feed under the cover of night, then descend again before dawn to avoid predators that hunt by sight. This nightly journey can span distances of several hundred meters, and for a creature only a few centimeters long, this is the equivalent of a human walking many kilometers each way, every single day, without rest. The sheer biomass involved in this migration is staggering. Current estimates suggest that diel vertical migration moves between 1 billion and 10 billion tons of biomass through the water column every night. It is so vast that naval sonar operators during the Second World War detected what they believed to be a false seafloor, a phantom bottom that rose at dusk and sank at dawn, which came to be known as the deep scattering layer. What they were hearing was not geology at all, but biology, the collective bodies of trillions of small organisms, reflecting sound waves as they ascended through the dark. This migration is not merely a spectacle, it is a critical mechanism in the ocean's carbon cycle, because the animals that feed at the surface and then return to the deep carry carbon within their bodies, in their tissues, in their waste, transporting it downward far more rapidly than marine snow alone could achieve. Some researchers estimate that diel vertical migration contributes significantly to the ocean's biological pump, accelerating the sequestration of atmospheric carbon into the deep sea. And so each evening, as night falls over the waves, the midnight zone exhales, sending its inhabitants upward in a great silent breathing of the ocean. And each morning, they return, carrying fragments of the sunlit world back into the dark, feeding the abyss with the memory of light. And yet, even in a place where food falls like the faintest snow, where each calorie is precious beyond measure, there are hunters of astonishing patience and design. The anglerfish, perhaps the most iconic resident of the midnight zone, carries its own lantern into the void, a fleshy lure called an esker, dangling from a modified dorsal spine just above its gaping mouth, glowing with the light of symbiotic bioluminescent bacteria. It does not chase, it does not pursue, it simply waits, drifting in the blackness like a small living trap, its enormous jaws hinged wide enough to swallow prey nearly as large as itself. Some species of anglerfish are no bigger than a human fist, while others stretch to over a meter in length. But all share the same strategy, the quiet offering of light in a world starved of it. And because food is so scarce, many deep-sea predators have evolved expandable stomachs and loosely hinged jaws, allowing them to consume meals that would seem impossibly large for their bodies. The black swallower, a fish rarely longer than 25 centimeters, can ingest prey more than twice its own length and 10 times its own mass, its stomach stretching into a taut, translucent balloon as it digests its catch over days or even weeks. This is not gluttony. This is survival mathematics, written into the very architecture of muscle and bone. In a realm where the next meal might not arrive for months, the ability to consume everything whenever it appears is the difference between life and a slow fading into nothing. Consider for a moment what it would mean to live this way, suspended in perfect darkness, conserving every flicker of energy, waiting with infinite stillness for the faint blue glow of something edible to drift within reach. There is no urgency here, no frantic scramble. There is only patience, ancient and absolute, refined across hundreds of millions of years of evolution in the deep. These creatures have turned waiting itself into an art form, a survival strategy as elegant as any speed or strength found in the sunlit world above. Let us turn our attention now to something quieter still, the water itself, and the immense pressures that define this world. At the upper boundary of the midnight zone, roughly 1,000 meters beneath the surface, the pressure is already about 100 atmospheres, meaning every square centimeter of surface bears the weight of approximately 100 kilograms. By the time you reach the lower boundary, near 4,000 meters, that pressure has climbed to 400 atmospheres. The force is unimaginable to us, creatures of air and open sky. A sealed, air-filled container brought to these depths would be crushed as easily as paper beneath a boot. And yet the animals of the midnight zone do not merely endure this pressure. They are built for it, shaped by it, as though the weight of the ocean were a kind of sculptor working across deep time. Their bodies contain very little gas. Their tissues are saturated with water at the same pressure as their surroundings, so there is no imbalance, no collapsing cavity, no fatal compression. Many deep-sea fish lack swim bladders entirely, or possess them only in vestigial, oil-filled forms that do not compress. Their cell membranes contain unusually high proportions of unsaturated fatty acids, which remain flexible and functional even under tremendous force, a biochemical adaptation that researchers have studied with growing fascination. A molecule called trimethylamine N-oxide, often abbreviated as TMAO, accumulates in the tissues of deep-sea organisms and helps stabilize proteins against the distorting effects of pressure. Scientists have found that the deeper an organism lives, the higher its concentration of TMAO tends to be, suggesting a beautifully direct relationship between chemistry and habitat. There is something profoundly reassuring about this. The idea that life does not simply resist the conditions of the deep, but rather integrates them, weaves them into its very chemistry. The pressure is not an enemy to be fought. It is a constant companion, as familiar to a midnight zone jellyfish or amphipod as gravity is to us. Walking here on the surface of the Earth, breathing easily, feeling only the lightest kiss of atmosphere above. Somewhere in that darkness, drifting on currents too slow for any instrument on the surface to feel, are the jellyfish of the midnight zone. Creatures so delicate, so hauntingly transparent, that they seem less like animals and more like living glass, or perhaps like thoughts given form and set loose in the water. Among the most extraordinary is the genus Atolla, a deep-sea crown jellyfish found throughout the world's oceans at bathypelagic depths. Atolla is a deep, rich crimson in color, which might seem conspicuous until you remember that red light does not penetrate to these depths. In the absence of red wavelengths, a red body appears utterly black, rendering the jellyfish effectively invisible against the lightless water. This is camouflage perfected not through pattern or texture, but through the physics of light itself. And when Atolla is attacked, when some predator seizes its bell or tangles its tentacles, it performs one of the most remarkable defensive displays in the ocean. It produces a frantic, spinning ring of bioluminescent blue light around the rim of its bell, a dazzling pinwheel in the darkness that scientists have called a burglar alarm. The purpose, current evidence suggests, is not to frighten the attacker, but to attract an even larger predator to the scene, one that might consume the original assailant and inadvertently free the jellyfish. It is a cry for help, written in light, broadcast into the void on the chance that something bigger and hungrier might be watching. Elsewhere in the midnight zone drift the ctenophores, the comb jellies, which are not true jellyfish at all, but belong to their own distinct phylum, Ctenophora. These ethereal creatures propel themselves with rows of tiny, hair-like cilia arranged in iridescent combs that scatter whatever light touches them into shimmering rainbows. In the midnight zone, where no sunlight exists to create those rainbows, many ctenophores produce their own bioluminescence instead, trailing faint blue and green sparks through the water, like embers drifting from an unseen fire. They are among the most ancient animal lineages on Earth, their body plan largely unchanged across more than 500 million years of quiet persistence. As we settle deeper into this meditation on the midnight zone, let us consider something that might seem paradoxical. The idea that this immense, dark, seemingly barren layer of the ocean is in fact connected to every living system on the planet. The midnight zone is a critical part of what oceanographers call the biological carbon pump, a process by which carbon dioxide absorbed at the surface is eventually transported to the deep sea and locked away for centuries or even millennia. It works like this. Phytoplankton in the sunlit upper ocean absorb carbon dioxide during photosynthesis, incorporating it into their tiny bodies. When these organisms die, or when the animals that eat them produce waste, the resulting organic particles begin to sink. This is the marine snow we spoke of earlier, that gentle, ceaseless rain of carbon-rich material descending through the water column. Much of it is consumed or decomposed before it reaches the midnight zone. But what does arrive carries carbon to depths where it may remain sequestered for 1,000 years or more, effectively removed from the atmosphere. Scientists estimate that the biological carbon pump transports roughly 10 billion metric tons of carbon from the surface ocean to the deep each year, a flow of staggering importance for regulating Earth's climate. Without this process, atmospheric carbon dioxide concentrations would be significantly higher than they are today. Some models suggest perhaps 200 parts per million higher, and our planet would be a far warmer place. And so the midnight zone, for all its apparent emptiness, is performing a service of planetary significance, quietly and without recognition, every single day. The creatures that live there, the bacteria that decompose the falling particles, the zooplankton that repackage carbon into dense fecal pellets that sink faster, the gelatinous organisms whose discarded mucus houses become vehicles of descent, all of them are participants in this great slow cycling of elements. They are, in a sense, the caretakers of a system that keeps our atmosphere in balance, working in perfect darkness, asking nothing of us, sustaining the very air we breathe as we lie here now, warm and still, and drifting gently towards sleep. There is a particular kind of creature that has made the midnight zone not merely survivable, but something closer to an empire. The siphonophore, a colonial organism so strange that it challenges our very definition of what it means to be an individual. A siphonophore is not one animal, but many, sometimes thousands, each a specialized unit called a zooid, all connected in a single translucent chain that can stretch longer than a blue whale. Some zooids exist only to swim, pulsing in delicate rhythm to propel the colony forward through water as dark and cold as a winter sky. Others exist only to feed, dangling tentacles laced with stinging cells into the blackness, waiting for whatever small and unsuspecting thing might drift too near. Still others serve only to reproduce, carrying the genetic future of the entire colony within their fragile tissues. No single zooid can survive alone. Together, They form something that moves with intention, that hunts, that responds to its environment as though it were one coherent being. And yet, no central brain coordinates their actions. There is no command center, no nerve cluster issuing orders from some hidden chamber. Instead, the colony communicates through chemical signals and electrical impulses passed from one zooid to the next, a kind of distributed intelligence that scientists are still working to fully understand. Some species of siphonophore produce bioluminescence, and when disturbed, the entire chain can erupt in cascading light, blue and green pulses rippling along its length like a slow fuse burning through the dark. Imagine encountering such a thing from the window of a submersible, a ribbon of pale fire undulating through absolute blackness, 60 feet long, silent, alive in a way that seems almost alien. The Midnight Zone holds many wonders, but few are as humbling as the siphonophore, a reminder that life does not always organize itself along the lines we expect, that consciousness and cooperation can take forms so radically different from our own that we must expand our understanding just to begin describing them. Yet, for all the strangeness of its inhabitants, one of the most remarkable features of the Midnight Zone is something that happens every single night, so vast in scale that it remains the largest migration on Earth. It is called diel vertical migration, and it involves billions upon billions of organisms, small fish, squid, krill, copepods, jellyfish, rising from the deep ocean toward the surface as darkness falls, and then sinking back again before dawn. The distances they travel are extraordinary. A small lanternfish, no larger than your finger, may ascend 300 meters or more each evening, a journey equivalent, proportionally, to a human walking several miles straight upward into the sky. They rise because the cover of darkness offers them protection from visual predators near the surface, where phytoplankton and other food sources are far more abundant. And when the first faint suggestion of sunlight begins to warm the upper waters, they descend again, retreating to the cold safety of the Midnight Zone. This migration is not a quiet event. It moves such enormous quantities of biomass that it influences ocean chemistry itself. As these creatures feed near the surface and then return to depth, they carry carbon locked within their bodies downward, effectively transporting it from the sunlit world into the deep. Scientists refer to this as the biological carbon pump, and current research suggests it plays a meaningful role in regulating the concentration of carbon dioxide in our atmosphere. Without this nightly procession of small and humble creatures, the balance of gases in the air you are breathing right now might be measurably different. Consider how quietly extraordinary that is. That the rhythm of your atmosphere, the very composition of each breath you draw tonight as you drift towards sleep, is shaped in part by animals you will never see, living in a darkness you will never visit, following an ancient pattern older than any human civilization, rising and falling with the turning of the earth as faithfully as the tides answer the pull of the moon. As our time together in this mesmerizing realm draws to a close, take a moment to let the peaceful reflections of the Midnight Zone cradle you into slumber. The silence we've explored tonight carries within it the whispers of life thriving in the darkest depths, gently reminding us of the beauty found even where light cannot reach. With every tick of time, the Midnight Zone remains a sanctuary of wonders, inviting us to dream of the brilliance nestled far beneath the surface. Let those thoughts guide you into restful sleep, while the mysteries of the deep lull you into a tranquil night. Thank you for spending your night with Let's Learn While You Sleep. Subscribe and come back tomorrow night. We'll be here. Sleep well.